Can someone please get Joe Burrow an ice bath? Better yet, an offensive line. And victory is once again fleeting. We break down the Bengals' performance up in Philly. Plus,
goodbyes only, everything. Strong, Cincinnati coming hard.
Respect Cincinnati. The Reds are in the postseason for the first time in 7 long years. So what should we look forward to? Mo Egger will answer that. And the Rona hits FC Cincinnati this weekend. How does that impact the rest of the season? We ask Laurel Phelan.
From WCPO 9 Sports, this is Sports of All Sorts.
What up? Welcome to Sports of All Sorts. I'm Reggie Wilson. Phrase of the week, respect Cincinnati. The Eagles didn't subscribe to that notion against the Bengals today. More on that in a bit. But the Reds set the tone, and that's where we start off tonight. For the first time in 7 years, the Reds are going to the playoffs. The team clinched Friday night after a win over the Twins. Quite the turnaround after they looked all but out, sitting at 15-21 on September 1st. Now their playoff rotation is set. Cy Young favorite Bauer in Game 1, Castillo in Game 2, and Sonny Gray in Game 3. Joey Votto is the only player remaining from that 2013 playoff team, and this will be his 4th trip to the postseason.
We're good and we're better. I like this team much more than I like those teams, and I really like those teams. But I think we're a nightmare, and I think everybody knows that.
Colorful Joey there. Tom Brenneman is leaving the Reds broadcast booth for good. He resigned on Friday, telling our Evan Millward it was a choice he and his family made. Brenneman was suspended by the team and Fox Sports Ohio for saying an anti-gay slur on air. Brenneman released a statement to Evan saying in part, "I've been in this profession that I love for 33 years, and it is my hope and intention to return. And if I'm given that opportunity, I will be a better broadcaster and a much better person." Reds owner Bob Castellini said in part the Reds applaud his heartfelt efforts of reconciliation with the LGBTQ plus community. The Brenneman family has been an intrinsic part of the Reds' history for nearly 50 years. He is a fantastic talent and a good man who will remain part of the Reds family forever. We wish him well, end quote. Brenneman had been with the Reds since 2006. Big news for Miami football Friday afternoon. The MAC decides they will play football this fall. It comes after they previously said they were going to push it back to the spring. Instead, there will be a 6-game season against conference-only opponents. MACtion will start up on November 4th. And a slow start for the number 14 Bearcats Saturday, but in the end, a win is a win. And they get the 24-10 victory over number 22 Army to improve to 2-0. Only 69 yards rushing on the day, but Desmond Ridder passes for 258 yards and 2 touchdowns. UC back in action Saturday at Nippert against South Florida to open up conference play. Back to the big story of the day. Joe Burrow and the Bengals trying to get their first win against the Eagles. First quarter, defense making plays. DJ Reader swats Carson Wentz's pass, and Logan Wilson comes up with it. His first career NFL interception. On the other side, Burrow continues to get abused. Sacked 8 times today, 18 QB hits. Like every time we looked around, Burrow was peeling himself off the grass. Malik Jackson just about ends him right here. Burrow misses a play, but he's built Ford tough or Chevy like a rock, whichever one you want to say. Comes back and hooks up with second-round pick T. Higgins for his first career touchdown. Bengals go up 10-6, but the Eagles snatch the lead back by halftime. Late third quarter, that connection is strong again. Burrow, that's the T, sis. Touchdown. Bengals take a 1-point lead. Fourth quarter, the Bengals defense just needs to hold and they'll win the game, but they can't. Wentz finds the corner of the end zone, dives inside the pylon, and the game is tied going to overtime. Inside 2 minutes in OT, Burrow passes for 312 yards, but he can't get the pass off here. He's sacked again. Eagles in position to win it on a field goal, but a false start penalty makes Doug Peterson go all conservative, and he opts not to kick a 64-yarder. So this game, guess what, ends in a tie, just like back in 2008. First cross-conference teams to tie twice. 23-23 is the final.
I've never tied in my life, so it feels strange for sure. But I know it sure as hell doesn't feel like we won. That's what I can tell you.
It'll never be about momentum or positive experiences to me. I'm about winning. I expect to win. I know we expect to win. No moral victories around here.
You heard him. Back with me to talk some more Bengals is Jim Breach, Bengals all-time leading scorer and former Bengals cornerback Rodney Heath. Fellas, how we doing?
Good. Doing good, Reg.
Doing great, Reg.
All right, so what in the world did we witness today?
A tie. But at least Donovan McNabb wasn't there, and
Right?
we knew the game would end in a tie, potentially.
Yeah. I mean, just like he said, it's no moral victories, and it's a weird feeling, but it's not a win.
Well, so many missed opportunities that could have meant the Bengals walking out of Philly with a win. What are you guys most frustrated about?
Well, the line is what I'm frustrated about. I mean, there's a lot of hits on the quarterback. We're talking about 18, 8 sacks with hits, 18. That's excessive, of course. And he showed how tough he is, though. That's one thing I have a lot of respect for him. Very tough, and he goes forward and goes out and make plays. So that's a plus that I can look at.
Jim?
I think the inability to come up with the big plays to win games. This has been an ongoing problem dating back to last season. It's frustrating to have the opportunity and you can't close it out.
Burrow, though, although he got beaten up a lot today, he and Tyler Boyd seemed to be making quite the connection. What did you like from those two guys today?
How about everything?
Yeah, go ahead.
Tyler Boyd just finds a way to get open. And there's got to be more of that happening with like A.J. Green and some of the other guys.
Yeah. I was impressed with the connection with him and Higgins for the touchdowns. That was positive. Seeing the 9 and the 85 connection is kind of funny to me. But, I mean, it was good seeing that.
Yeah, 10 catches.
Little throwback, huh?
Yeah, 10 catches for 125 yards for Boyd. All right, so the Bengals get the Jags next week at home. Get some fans there, just a little bit of fans there, so it might, help sway some things. How do you see that one playing out?
Well, I mean, one thing, Jim. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Roger.
No, the one thing I would say, I mean, coming in with they're hungry and they want to get a win. I mean, honestly, the way this game could have finished today, defense had the opportunity at the end of the second half and the fourth quarter to really keep them out of the end zone. So, get that side of the ball, finishing the games. I think on the offensive side, they're doing well, but they need to get the running game going. So, keep pushing that way. I think it's a good chance that they can win this game at home.
I agree. I mean, Jacksonville is a team that it's beatable. And they had a tough game against them last year. Minshew mania is happening again, but Miami put it to them the other night.
Yeah.
All right, Jim, Rodney, as always, I appreciate you guys' insight. Take care, and we'll see you again next week.
See you, man.
Thanks, Reg.
All right, so I want to hear from you after watching what you saw today in Philly. When will the Bengals win their first game? You heard what Jim and Rodney had to say. Tweet me at Reggie Wilson TV and make sure to use the hashtag SOAS. And the Reds are already in the playoffs, but still one last game before October baseball starts. Coming up, see if the Reds go into the postseason with some winning momentum.
Our kids are being heard across the country and worldwide.
High school football feels a bit different this year, but ahead, how the pandemic is giving some budding broadcasters their chance to shine. Reds wrapping up the regular season against the Twins. This play is beautiful. Kyle Farmer starts the double play and Sonny Gray is out of trouble in the fourth. Top seventh, Reds down 1, not anymore. Freddie Galvis with the long base hit to right, plays Jesse Winker to tie the game. Goes to extras. In the 10th, Tucker Barnhart slaps a single to right. Michael Lorenzen scores. They add 2 more runs for good measure, and the Reds win 5-3. Fifth straight series win to end the regular season, and they finished the season with a 31-29 record. 6 straight years of losing baseball is over. And nothing can steal the joy of my next guest, Mo Egger. Hear him every day on ESPN 1530. Mo, you still on that playoff clinching high?
Friday night was one of the best nights we've had in local professional sports history in quite a while. They're in the postseason. They've got a puncher's chance. They went in with a full head of steam, obviously, with the way they played over the last couple of weeks. I can't wait to watch and talk about playoff baseball this week. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So, Mo, you tweeted that the Reds looked dead just earlier this month. How improbable is what they've done to get to October?
You know, you could always, throughout the course of the first 7 weeks or so of the season, you could always do the math and get yourself to a place where they were going to be in the playoffs. I was less interested in that. For me, it was all about how they were playing, how they were hitting, how they were not winning series. I go back to 2 weeks ago today. The Reds had either lost or split 9 consecutive series.
Woof.
It's the last day of a 3-gamer in St. Louis. They're trailing 5-3 in the middle innings. They're kind of an afterthought that day because Joe Burrow was making his NFL debut, and the Cardinals usually have their way with the Reds, and yet they scored 7 runs in the final 4 innings that day. They played the Pirates, and I think they needed to sweep that series, and they swept that series, and I kind of felt like from there we went, okay, these guys got a shot, and now, first of all, I give them a lot of credit for what they've done, and I agree with Joey Votto. I think they're going to be a really tough out, whether it's for Atlanta this week or whoever they may play beyond.
Absolutely. So you just alluded to it. We now know who the Reds will play in the postseason. Best of 3 against the Braves. How do you see the Reds faring in the series?
As long as you have Trevor Bauer, Luis Castillo, and a healthy Sonny Gray, you have a chance against anybody. To try to predict who's going to win a best of 3 series, I think is even more difficult than predicting who's going to win a best of 5 or a best of 7 series. Inferior teams, if you want to call the Reds an inferior team, they're certainly a lower seed. Inferior teams win best of 3 series all the time. Happens all the time. Mm-hmm. So as long as you have those 3 pitchers, as long as you have the kind of relief work we've seen the Reds get for the better part of the last 2 weeks, and as long as you have guys who can hit the ball out of the ballpark, which the Reds do, you've got a shot. So, yeah, I really do like their chances in this series against Atlanta.
And you mentioned that pitching. Sonny Gray, he came back today. He looks solid. Are you pretty confident about these guys that they're bringing out there?
This is why you get those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, this is why you put together that pitching staff. Yes, to survive and win in the regular season, but I think we talked about this last February before the shutdown. If this team could somehow figure out a way to get to between 85 and 90 wins, God, if they could just get there, assuming that trio of pitchers is going to be healthy, boy, that's a load to throw at people. Well, here we are. Obviously, we didn't have a full season. They didn't back in, but they clearly had to make a mad dash to the postseason just to get in. Trevor Bauer, I don't think is going to be fazed by anything you throw at him. He's going to be on full rest. I think he relishes opportunities like this. And it's a great chance for Luis Castillo to pitch on the postseason stage, which obviously he hasn't had a chance to this year. I like the way this team is playing. I like the way they're getting good, lengthy starting pitching. I like the variety of options that David Bell has in his bullpen. And, I would like to see this team hit more than it actually has. But I think we certainly do understand that this team, if the bats get hot, that's a formidable lineup. It hasn't been over the first 9 weeks of the season, but to win a 3-game series, you have to have 1 or 2 hitters that carry you, and I think that can be enough with this team starting pitching.
All right, Mo. It's been 7 years in the making. We're all looking forward to seeing postseason baseball from the Reds. Thanks so much for taking the time tonight.
25 years, Reggie, since they've advanced in the postseason. I was a freshman in college. It's time.
Come on, do it for Mo. Thanks,
Mo. Do it
Mo.
for me. Thank you, Reggie.
All right, coming up, a lot of high school football fans can't be at games this fall, but they can still watch the games, and they're not only the ones benefiting from that. Coming up. Welcome back. If you've been to a high school football game this fall, you know there are not nearly as many fans as in a typical season. And that's forced fans to find different ways to watch games. Caleb Noe explores the opportunity that has created for some young broadcasters.
In many cases this fall, the only fans allowed at games are the players' family members.
There isn't the atmosphere that your traditional that you're traditionally used to seeing.
And some fans have chosen to watch games like this. But if you want a good view of the game in 2020, your best bet might be your TV or computer screen.
Not only is it possible to do, but it might become a little bit of the norm.
For many fans, those online broadcasts have become the only way they can watch their team play.
Yeah, no pressure, right?
And in many cases, students are not only on the field on Friday nights, but also in the booth.
Although there's a lot of negative to this year, I think it's going to be a positive that, hey, our team was the reason that thousands and thousands of people were able to watch the game.
And here we go, 4th down.
St. Xavier High School also has a student-run broadcast called ESPX.
Ryan Nolan drops back. He's got Clifford.
The kids and I met and said, we realize this is going to be super important to families and friends of all of our athletes.
And he's got daylight.
And like Elder, St. X has been doing it for years, but this season the increased demand for live-streamed games has created unique opportunities for student broadcasters.
Our kids are being heard across the country and worldwide.
About a year ago, a brand new company started broadcasting games in the Cincinnati area called Chatterbox Sports.
Davis, touchdown!
A lot of schools are depending upon us to do a good job.
But at the time, they had no idea how essential their service would become.
My wife's a nurse, so I try to put things in perspective a little bit. Nobody's calling me in the middle of the night to go try to save somebody's life.
Touchdown!
Wow. We don't know what the world will look like a year from now.
I don't like the term new normal.
But high school broadcasts have come a long way, and that new normal is only getting better.
For the touchdown and the win!
In Cincinnati, Caleb No, WCPO 9 Sports.
Thanks, Caleb. Let's go back to Saturday. FC Cincinnati up in Jersey taking on New York City FC. First minute of the game, Alexandru Matrida. That's a goal. He had 2. FCC goes down in NYC 4-0. Interesting week for the Orange and Blue, and I got WCPO.com FC Cincinnati beat writer Laurel Failer with me to talk about it. Laurel, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
So Lakota West grad and former Xavier Musketeer Nick Haglin confirms he tested positive for COVID-19. He self-isolates and the game goes on as scheduled. What did you think about the situation?
I thought it was, like you said, important that he came out and said that it was him, because there were going to be all these rumors flying around. Coach Stom was going to get asked, why did you take Nick out of the lineup? Why, it was going to be obvious that it was him. So it was good that he kind of cleared the air and we could kind of move on from that. But you could tell in the game that it was mentally taxing on the players, just what they were going through in that uncertain period of just not knowing for sure if he was going to be confirmed positive. His test, he tested first positive on Thursday, or from his test on Thursday, they got Friday, showed up positive, and then he had to be retested. That came back Saturday morning and showed that he was indeed positive for COVID. So just that period of not knowing what was going to happen and all that, it weighs on the players. And Spencer Ritchie after the game said that, it's in the back of your mind because, it could still show up that one of them is going to be positive after this. So there's a lot of questions around it.
On the pitch, FC Cincinnati continues to be inconsistent. How frustrating is this club?
They had 2 great games before this. They got a scoreless draw against Philadelphia on Wednesday, which they could have won that game, and Philadelphia is one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. So, it was a good result, even though they thought they could have gotten more from that. And then the game before that, they got a win against New York Red Bulls. So just going into that game, it felt like things were going well. And then all of a sudden, they give up a goal 30 seconds in. And, yeah, it's just they can't sustain these periods of progress. So I think that's what's frustrating. And I think we are seeing just the effects of the schedule. They're playing so many games in such a quick time and just trying to cram everything in. And they're already shorthanded. They had 16 players available on Saturday. Most teams have 23 on game day. So they're really seeing the effects of just trying to get all these games in so late in the season.
The remainder of the schedule released this past week. After looking at it, how do you see the season shaking out the rest of the way?
They do have a tough schedule. I think their analytics guy figured out that they're like one of the top 2 toughest schedules in the league right now. So they have to face Columbus again. They do not get to play Nashville. That's what everyone is looking at hey, Nashville is 4 hours away. They're in our conference. That's a game that would be competitive between the teams. They're both the bottom half of the conference. So, Coach Stom and General Manager Gerard Nijkamp were a little disappointed that they weren't going to get that rivalry game with Nashville this year. They've got, I think, 5 straight games at home, but then they finish on the road. And, it's going to be tough. They're already fighting to try to get back into that playoff position, and the schedule doesn't help.
Laurel, as always, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me. I always enjoy talking with you.
All right, we'll be right back to wrap up the show. Welcome back. Well, it's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun, but we got to go. I'd like to thank my guests Jim Breach, Rodney Heath, Mo Egger, and Laurel Pfahler for joining me tonight. And thank you to my village who helped me put this all together. Thank you for watching. Let's do it again next Sunday. Until then, have a good night and a very blessed week.